If therefore I show that God is not the being of all things, it can likewise be shown that God is not the form of anything. For the divine being cannot be of any existence which is not itself being, as has been shown. But that which is the divine being itself is nothing other than God. It is therefore impossible for God to be the form of someone else. Further, the form of the body is not being itself, but the principle of being. But God is the very being. Therefore God is not the form of a body. Again, from the union of form and matter results something composite, which is the whole with respect to matter and form. But the parts are in power with respect to the whole. But in God there is no potentiality. It is therefore impossible for God to be the form united to anything. Still, that which has its being in itself is more noble than that which has its being in another. But every form of a body has its existence in another. Therefore, since God is the most noble being, as the first cause of being, he cannot be the form of anything. In addition, the same can be shown from the eternity of motion. Thus, if God is the form of something moving, since he is the first mover, the composite will be the mover himself. But the moving itself can be moved and not moved. Therefore, both are in him. But what is of this kind has no insufficiency of motion of itself. It is necessary, therefore, above the moving self to place another moving first, which gives it the perpetuity of the movement. And so God, who is the first mover, is not the form of a body that moves itself. And this process is useful to those who posit the eternity of movement. This being not posited, the same conclusion may be drawn from the regularity of the motion of the air. For just as a moving person can rest and move himself, so he can move faster and slower. The necessity, then, of the uniformity of the motion of the sky depends on some superior principle which is entirely immovable, which is not a part of the body moving itself as if it were some form of it. But the authority of Scripture agrees with this truth, for it is said in the Psalm, "Thy magnificence is lifted up above the heavens, O God." And Job 8, "He is higher than the sky, and what will you do? The length of the earth is its measure, and the depth of the sea." Thus, therefore, the error of the Gentiles is nullified, who said that God is the soul of heaven, or even the soul of the whole world. And from this error they defended idolatry, saying that the whole world is God, not by reason of the body, but by reason of the soul. Just as a man is called wise, not by reason of the body, but of the soul. From which supposition they thought it followed that divine worship should not be unduly offered to the world and its parts. The commentator also says in the 11th Metaphysics that this place was the fall of the wise men of the tribe of the Zabians, that is, of the idolaters, because they believed that God was the form of heaven.